Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming back and joining me tonight on Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and tonight I'm really looking forward to sharing a couple of really wonderful guests with you. First up with me tonight, I'm going to be joined by PGA teaching pro Mike Landry. It's been a minute since we've had Mike on the show, so looking forward to having him back as a part of our show tonight. He teaches out at Mile Square Golf Course, which is just outside of L.A. We'll talk about the 36-hole complex that they have out there, plus some of the other great courses that Mike gets the opportunity to see and play in and around the L.A. area. For most of us who are still dealing with brutally cold temperatures and snow, I'm going to get some advice from Mike for how we can keep the rust off our golf swings while we wait for spring to arrive. We'll talk about potentially, how can we hit straighter drives? How can we hit better fairway woods, even after we've hit a great drive down the middle of the fairway? So many of us struggle with our fairway woods. If we're not teeing it up, we struggle a little bit, whether we're hitting it fat or we're hitting it thin or we're topping it. Get some advice from Mike on how to do those things better. So Mike will be along with me here in just a few minutes. Following him, I'm going to get a return visit from Kenny Knox. You remember Kenny. Kenny won 3 times out on the PGA Tour back in the late 80s and early 90s. Kenny is one of the best chippers and putters in the history of the PGA Tour, folks. Case in point, the 1989 Heritage Classic, which Kenny won, he set the 18-hole record for putts with 18. Get that, 18 putts for 18 holes, and the 72-hole tournament record with only 93 putts. So we'll tap into some of Kenny's expertise on and around the greens. He also makes his own line of putters and wedges, which we'll talk about as well. Go online to see those at KennyKnoxGolf.com. So look forward to having Kenny back on the show with me about 25 minutes from now. So, folks, more great stories and playing lessons coming your way tonight on this edition of Next on the Tee. Thank you so much for tuning in and taking the journey with us over the next hour or so. And as you know, we are sponsored by the French Lick Resort. Let's hear a word from our good friend Steve Rondinero about what they have going on up there.
When planning your next golf buddy trip, consider something completely different for 2018 at French Lick Resort. The Eagles, Birdies, and Pigeons package. That's right, pigeons. Take your best shot with a day at our Pete Dye course, a day at our Donald Ross course, then top it off with an outing at our new Sporting Clay shooting range. This package is reserved for groups of 12 or more. Just you and a pal craving a world-class golf getaway? Well, our Hall of Fame package can't be beat for a pure golf experience and value. Pete Dye, Donald Ross, and our 2 historic hotels make a legendary combination. French Lick Resort can also help you bring your game to the next level. Check out our Early Birdies Tune-Up, our Game Changer, and Rapid Recovery Golf Academies. Start making those 2018 plans now with an online visit to FrenchLick.com. French Lick Resort, home of the 2018 Senior LPGA Championship and the Symetra Tour Donald Ross Classic.
Yeah, folks, be sure to go online to FrenchLick.com to see for yourself how great a place it is and to book your stay. And, oh, by the way, my friends, the thing that Steve didn't talk to you about is they've got a casino right there on the property as well. Great place, FrenchLick.com. And, folks, have you heard me talking about ClubHub sensors over the last couple of months? Well, if you haven't, listen up and get ready to discover the best portable shot tracking and swing analysis golf device out there on the market. Other shot trackers tell you what happened. ClubHub tells you what happened and why. Take the progress that you make on the practice tee directly to your rounds with the only device of its kind that can go on the course with you. I have ClubHub sensors on all of my clubs. They screw right into the tops of your grips, and I can tell you, folks, since I put the ClubHub sensors on my clubs, I've learned more about my swing and all of the data surrounding it than I've learned over the 40 years I've been playing the game. Not only do you get GPS distances to the hazards and to the greens, but you also can see your round. You can go back and look at the images and the layout of every hole on the course that you just played and see exactly where and how far you hit every shot. No other GPS tool in the market captures that and lets you go back and review your round the way the ClubHub app does. It's available for Android and iPhones. The app keeps track of your swing speed of every club in your bag, your tempo, your angle of attack, plus 3D images of your swing as well. And no other rangefinder can do all that for you. Go online to clubhubgolf.com to order your set of ClubHub sensors today and enter the coupon code NEXT, that's N-E-X-T, to get 10% off on all products at checkout. Again, clubhubgolf.com, enter the coupon code NEXT, and you're going to get the best GPS and swing analysis tool on the market for a great low price, and you're going to see your game in a whole new way. We are also excited to be partnering with the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. They are back with the same great equipment that you know and love without the retail markup that you hate. Now you can buy premium Ben Hogan irons, wedges, utility irons, hybrids, and bags directly from the factory at prices your wallet's really going to appreciate. Visit them online at benhogangolf.com and give them a call at 844-53-HOGAN. That's 844-534-6426 to learn more and order your set today. Plus, also go online to check out our friends at the Bobby Jones Apparel Company by going to bobbyjones.com. Their holiday collection is out, and the shift in seasons is the perfect opportunity to change things up layer upon layer. Give your wardrobe a boost of dapper style. They've added some great new details, fresh colors, new additions with genuine enduring character. To see it all online, go to bobbyjones.com. And folks, as you know, we are partnering with one of our favorite folks on the planet, and that is Russ Holden and the folks over at Caddy for a Cure. One of the most unique opportunities in the world of professional golf is available to you through Caddy for a Cure. You get to spend a day inside the ropes with one of the world's best players as their caddy. It is a fantastic way to have the time of your life while supporting our wounded service members and Fanconi anemia. You get to walk side by side with the tour player experiencing professional golf as an insider. And in addition to the experience you're going to get a fantastic gift package from Caddy for a Cure, which includes Under Armour logoed apparel and an eyewear package, a tour-grade caddy bib suitable for autographs and framing, a tin cup ball marking gift, chef's cut real jerky, and professional photographs from your day. Go online to caddyforacure.com. That is CADDYFORACURE, caddyforacure.com, to learn more. Now back with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is Mike Landry. Mike is a PGA teaching professional at Miles Square Golf Course out in Fountain Valley, California, which is just outside of L.A. Miles Square is a 36-hole public golf course designed by David Rainville that opened back in 1969. Mike has also taught at the Marriott at Manhattan Beach. He studied at the University of Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton, Texas. He's been a PGA Class A teaching professional for over 25 years, and I am honored to have him back with me tonight here on Next on the Tee. Happy New Year, Mike. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, Chris, great to be on the show and great to be active.
No doubt. So, Mike, I have to imagine on some level you've got better weather out in L.A. than most of the rest of the country is experiencing right now. I know you guys have been getting a lot of rain that to follow up the drought that you had and the fires that you had. So, but I imagine it's much warmer and nicer than the rest of us across the country. Let us live a little vicariously through you. How are things in L.A.?
We had a really good summer. A lot of good weather patterns. Which is fantastic. And then again, we're into the rain, which we need, but again, we have to be prepared for it. And the summer we had in Southern California, we had the U.S. Amateur out at L.A. Country Club, or it was at Riviera. Then we also had the Walker Cup as well. So that was quite a summer for amateur golf in L.A.
So, and Mike, as I mentioned, you're teaching out now at Miles Square Golf Course, a 36-hole facility that's a public facility out there. Let our listeners know. Talk about what you've got out there. Talk about what the golf courses are like and what the facility in general is like.
Yeah, we're right basically in Orange County, right near Fountain Valley, Huntington Beach area, and right off the 405 at the Warner East exit. It's a 36-hole structured facility. You got the classic 18 pine tree line traditional, and then also we have the players course, which is modern, mounding and water, but equally the same length, but again much more modern. We have lighted range, very busy. Again, we pride ourselves on pace of play, customer service, pace of play. So it is a full service facility, and it actually is a mile square. So it's tied into the park system for Fountain Valley or the county of Orange County. So it is got some structure there.
And Mike, there are so many great golf courses in and around the LA area, plus along the California coast. On top of Miles Square, what are some of the other golf courses that you enjoy getting out to play?
There's Pelican Hill right near the Newport Beach area, has 36 holes of upscale resort-style golf. Again, we can head out, an hour or less out east, Riverside area. You got some good modern golf courses out there. Again, being in Orange County, it makes it a little more difficult to get north of LAX. just due to the traffic alone. To be honest with you, a lot of people say, would you like to play Sherman Oaks, and you kind of almost say, hey, I don't go past LAX. So again, it's kind of a thing where you got to get on that side of town to get back on that side of town. So once you get kind of down this way, it's a luxury of being here, because anything north of LAX makes it a challenge. But I did the years up in Manhattan Beach I loved.
And Mike, I was checking out your website, MikeLandryGolf.com, and on there it says that you like link-style golf. What is it about link-style courses that you really enjoy?
It makes you use the ground, different shots, the creative side of the short game. Again, it's kind of the playing style of like Patrick Harrington, where, he's hitting hybrids and 3-woods up in the little openings to where it really brings out the true game of golf. So you're a shot maker.
Talking about the short game, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and again, when I was in the Met PGA section, I was able to get exposed to the Shinnecock Nationals, the Wingfoots, the Maidstones, and then even I played years ago when we were on our last interview, so I got some feel for that style of golf, which is really love.
And Mike, you talk about the short game, right? And I know on your site again, MikeLandryGolf.com, you offer a short game masters program to help people, get up and down and hit chip shots and pitch shots. Talk about what that program is and some of the drills that you work on with your students.
Yeah. So when I was, at the Marriott, I got that program set up to where I could, get a lesson once a month and then be available for practice sessions with my students in that short game area, so that we could kind of challenge them and bring out the creative side of the short game. And it gave a student that was at a level of scoring. And again, a lot of the short game and scoring is to be able to use the setup, the design of the golf club, the bounce, and not to be scared of the golf club. So many people are scared of how to use a club, but it's a lot of opposites, so that you let the design work come out in the short game.
And you talk about the word creative, and I think that's an interesting term to think about, with the short game, because a lot of times you do got to get creative, right? You got to have a little imagination for how you're going to make this chip or this pitch shot work, depending on where you're at, what you've got in between you and the hole. What is it a raised green? Is it a flat green? Those sorts of things. Talk about how to be creative and how to imagine getting the ball closer to the hole.
Okay. And again, me being a PGA Class A member in the Southern Cal section, we have a very good PGA education program, seminars, to where this last fall we had a coaching seminar at Virginia Country Club there in Long Beach. And there's eight or so PGA Tour players that are members there, and they actually brought in James Seekman, which is kind of the short game wizard that worked with, I think, over 15 PGA pros with the short game out of Nebraska. His brother was the Tom Seekman that was a PGA Tour player that played a lot of practice rounds with Seve Ballesteros. So again, we had a 2-day session, and Seekman was part of the session, to where you really got a sense of the short game setup, the eye line, how to use the club, again, your emotions, so that you could be accountable for your short game and scoring. So that was a great opportunity.
And Mike, you've mentioned a couple times, how to use the club, and I think that's something that we all could use some pointers on. What are some things that you see when people pull a wedge or whatever club they might like to pitch or chip with, what are some of the things that you see that say, you know what, you're not using that club properly?
Cool. Again, kind of with the the ball position, you get that's awareness there. The shaft lean, again, there's times where you don't want the lean like you would have in like a full distance iron setup like a 6-iron, and some of the short game shots, creative ones, with the sand wedge, the lob wedge, you don't want that lean. You want it just almost vertical shaft so that the club finds a bottom point and skids on through. But if you add lean, then you got the leading edge which wants to dig, and that's where those scary situations come about. But if you're able to use the leaning of the shaft, non-leaning of the shaft, learning how to not let the club be grounded on the club so that you can, as you swing, you're able to kind of keep your arm radius constant instead of kind of folding your arms. You're able to use your chest to move the arms. Again, kind of use more of the chest so that it moves it, and you can let the club strike the bottom of the arc instead of trying to find a way to get the club through the shot.
And Mike, with this short game, are you a proponent of using the same club, depending on where you're at? I know my son, who is a junior player, he's been given a couple of different pieces of advice from different teachers. One had him using his sand wedge exclusively for every chip shot in and around the green. Another is, kind of pushing him towards, using an 8-9 pitching wedge, depending on, how far you're off the green. How do you teach your students when they're, 5, 10, 20 yards off the green? What club do you recommend them use? How do you get them set up to hit those shots closer to the hole?
It's all kind of visually based. If it's a flat area, there's no need to put it in the air. So that's where you could use a 6, 7, 8 iron. Again, you could go from a ball position that would be in front of your right foot, let the shaft lean so your body's in front, and then it's a very, one lever motion. And again, by using the ground, like link style golf, then you're able to have everything fly to a point, roll out, so it's like a putt. And you're seeing everything respond like you would if you used a putter. But if you're backed in a corner and you need to go in the air, then you got to use your eyes. You got to be able to find out how to fly it, let it find a point of where it can run out and go from there. So again, the more you can use all the clubs in your bag, then you're not having to over practice something. You're always just thinking about spots, conditions, rollouts, and that's what you're looking for, percentages.
And Mike, so many of us, when we're playing, right, and we're in our carts and we're driving to our next shot, particularly when you're driving up towards the green, we're involved in conversation, we're looking around, one of the things that I've heard as you approach the green, whether you're walking towards the green and you're walking the course or you're in your golf cart, that's the time when you really need to start zeroing in on looking at, starting to line up your shot. Whether you're on the green and you're looking to line up your putt because you're looking at the green and how it's elevated and maybe where it breaks, or starting to look towards where you see, water runs off or that sort of thing. When you're talking with your students, Are you a, hey, take a mental break in between your shots and then come back and focus and take your next shot? Or are you more of, hey, from the moment you hit one shot, you're starting to line up your next shot, particularly in and around the greens?
I think you just, after you've hit a good, iron or good tee-ball, you need to kind of reset. And that's where you've hit a great shot, let it go, move on to what your next shot's going to be. If it's up around the green, then you have to clear out what was done and then look at, with that short game shot or the pitch shot, you got to look and see, what, is the grass shiny? Is it dull? Is there slopes this way, that way? Or did you see someone just hit a shot that zipped by the cup and it was good contact? Well, maybe that was down grain. Or if it was slow approaching, then you could say, wow, that could be against the grain. I better rethink what club I was going to use, and then be able to not kind of fight things or kind of force things. This way, you're just basically, you practice to make good contact, and now you're able to let things take their shape.
And you mentioned shiny or dull. What does shiny or dull tell us?
That would be the grain of the grass. Southern states with the Bermuda, again, even the setting sun, so that you can, see the shininess, which means it's down grain or fast, so it's going to run away. If it's dull, then you're going to have resistance, so that it'll be slower, even though you've made good contact. Ways to kind of check it is, if you got a pitch shot, a chip shot, go up to the edge of the green. You can see the edge where the grass is going one direction or other, whether it's away to you, left, right. If you were to walk up to the cup, you could look around the cup and see if there were any, later in the day, you'll see lip outs. Again, you're able to get a sense of when the ball slows down. Is it slowing down because it's against the grain? Is it slowing down because it just rolled out? Is it slowing down and pulling to the right or to the left? You got to, kind of look and respond.
And Mike, kind of backing all the way up, for those of us that are still looking at, 2-3 months before we're going to be able to get out there and play golf again, what are some of the things that we can do to keep the rust off our golf swings?
With the putting, again, I think it's Eyeline Golf has the steel balls. There's a pack of 3 heavy weighted balls to where you could, hit foot putts with those steel balls. Get used to, hitting it solid. Again, get used to, with that rolling that steel ball, that gives you a chance to hit a foot putt that on normal conditions with a golf ball might go 10 feet. So again, that's a way to kind of train your putting without, overthinking your stroke. Again, with the pitch shots in the basement or the house, or those the East Coasters that are in the basements with their mats, learning how to, when they set the club head, not let it actually rest on the ground with pitching and chipping, get to where if it was the bottom of the club head would be resting on the top of a ladybug or a round furniture tack, so that you're going to, when you make your swing, it's going to have its shape. It's not going to have tension. You're able to keep your arm radius to where your chest can move your arms, because once the chest stops moving, then your arms stop moving, and then your wrists want to move, and then again that club head gets out of position, and what was once going to be the bounce being used is now the leading edge. But again, the putting, the pitching motion, again, that's one of those short clubs are good, because then you're not going to hit any lamps or any furniture. So you got to think about these variables. Yeah, I'm a big proponent, and I've done it ever since I started with like Golf Tech years ago. Every student I had, I would give them one of those rubber molded training grips, and to this day I still do it, because if I get them to take ownership on their hand position and grip, I don't have to move it around. I can just give this, say this is how it fits. It's like a puzzle. Make it fit.
Yeah.
If you don't think this works, then what have all these other great players done? Because they've done this. So that helps. And it's, again, for us golf professionals, it's a $2 item. Someone that buys one in a golf shop, $8 item. So again, for us to give away a $2 item and not have a student down the road say all he did was work on my grip, this way you gave him the visual, you gave him the $2 molded training grip. You don't have to put it on a club, just hold it in your hands so that you get ownership.
So, Mike, going all the way back to early parts of your career, and I know you've been a Class A teaching professional now for over 25 years, but going all the way back, did somebody share a tip with you when you were a young teacher or coming up that you've incorporated into your teaching lessons, something that sort of stuck with you over the years?
The short game. I mean, the short game is priceless, because if you buy into the setup, and then we're in the technology area where everything's so visual, if your short game setup is not visually correct, then you're out of position. So you got to get visually in position so that you're going to be able to hit these shots that all the great players do. And that's huge, because then again, junior golfers, like you mentioned, your son playing junior golf, just short game can separate the runts from the strong players.
Mm-hmm.
And that's priceless. And then when they do develop, and like the Dustin Johnsons, once they get that build and that length, and they had that magical short game from the junior being creative, they're unstoppable.
Mike, one more tip before we let you go, and an area that I know that I struggle with is fairway woods. Hitting a fairway, I can hit a nice drive, put it right out there in the middle of the fairway on a par 5. I may have, 230, 240 in, and I'm going to pull my 3-wood out, and now I'm struggling. I'm either topping the ball, I'm hitting it fat, I'm hitting it thin. What's a good tip for me and for our listeners that want to hit better fairway wood shots?
That's a great question. Again, to follow up with that, the fairway wood setup's just like a driver setup. So visually, when you're looking at pictures of high-level players, if you were to actually look at the back of the driver or 3-wood club head, the back of it would be in the middle of your stance. So if the back's in the middle of your stance, then it's well forward. Whether you're taking a practice swing or the golf ball's there or not, it's where it should always be. And then with it, the back of the club head center of the feet or stance, your body has time to make its motion. But if you just kind of put it like it was an iron, your body can't get out of the way. So I'm really a big proponent of, woods, drivers, fairway woods. If you want a fighting chance, you need the back of the club head or wood head, metal head, middle of the feet, so that your head's behind the ball. You're looking at the back of the club head. You got to go get the ball. It's just not where you have to. It's going to be there. You got to go get it. And then also within that setup, you got a short game setup, who you mentioned. You're more vertical. Your sternum straight up and down. Well, when you have a full distance iron, a fairway wood, you want to get to where there's a little bit of tilt. How much tilt? That's where you need a kind of a template to where if you took your right hand and touched the palm of your hand and touched your right kneecap, that creates enough tilt to where now you're offset. So you can't see yourself when you're playing or practicing, and in many cases, boom, you've got that offset setup that gets you set up for distance.
That's a great tip. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to put that to work right away. Mike, before we let you go, let our listeners know, how can they follow you, stay up to date with all the great things that you're doing, whether it's online on your website or over social media as well?
Yeah, basically I'm also, I'm on Facebook. I'm at, MikeLandryGolf.com website. I can work with you there. I'm excited about getting the Masters program going, so I need to get that activated again at Miles Square and get some acceptance there and get that going. Again, it's the students I had up in Manhattan Beach in the South Bay, driving the 405, you can make some good time, but there's the driving tip I have is when you get near, Springdale Valley View, that's only like 3 miles away. All you'd have to do is get off on Springdale, Golden West, or Beach, and it's 8 miles there, or 8 minutes there, and 4 minutes to 8 minutes in, instead of sitting on a freeway for over 30 minutes when you could just get off.
There you go. Get in there, get a couple of swings in, spend some time on the driving range, come see you.
Perfect. And they could always, text me, say, hey, I'm stuck on the 405. I'm right here, like Valley View exit, where they would go to the Navy golf course. From there, they could just say, you know what, I'll tell them, get off. Get off at Springdale. 8 minutes, you're on Warner. 8 minutes, you're at the golf course, and you've left the 405 alone.
There you go. Great advice. Mike, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come back on the show. It's been great catching up with you.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much, Chris.
Take care, Mike.
Thanks again. You have a good evening.
That is Mike Landry, Landry, Mike Landry, and you can find him online, again, at MikeLandryGolf.com. He's got a lot of great tips and some videos on there, and the opportunity to take some lessons with Mike, and he's just a wonderful man, and glad to have him back on the show. Need to get him back much sooner next time around because I really enjoy getting to spend some time with Mike. He's a great guy. All right, before I get to my next guest, Kenny Knox, I want to give a shout-out to a few of our sponsors. First, I want to remind you about our friends over at Syncit.com. You know how we like to keep things on the positive side here on Next on the Tee and have a positive approach both in life and on the golf course. Well, we're excited to continue to be partnering with the folks over at Syncit.com. Keep putting that positive thought of sinking the putt in your mind with their great line of T-shirts and hats. To win any golf tournament, you got to sink the final putt. We all wake up every day to finish strong, sink the putt, close the deal, work hard, get better each and every day. Have the confidence to push forward towards your dreams with unwavering passion, and you're going to sink it in life. Check them out online at Syncit.com. And folks, like you hear me talking about every week now here on Next on the Tee and talking about Club Hub sensors. Well, you know, listen up. If you haven't tried them yet, then you really need to go online and discover the best portable shot tracking and swing analysis golf device that's out there. Other shot trackers tell you what happened. Club Hub tells you what happened and why. Take the progress that you make on the practice tee directly to your rounds with the only device of its kind that can go with you on the golf course. I have Club Hub sensors on all my clubs. They screw right into the tops of your grips. And I can tell you, folks, since I put the Club Hub sensors on my clubs, I've learned more about my swing and all of the data surrounding it than I've learned over the 40 years I've been playing the game. Not only do you get GPS distances to the hazards and to the greens, but after your round, you can look back at the images and the layout of every hole in the golf course that you just played and see exactly where and how far you hit every shot. No other GPS tool on the market captures that and lets you go back and review your round the way the Club Hub app does. It's available online for Android or iPhones. The app keeps track of your swing speed of every club in your bag, your tempo, your angle of attack, plus you get a 3D view of your golf swing as well. And no other rangefinder can do all of that for you. Go over to clubhubgolf.com to order your Club Hub sensors today and enter the coupon code NEXT to get 10% off on all products at checkout. Again, clubhubgolf.com, enter the coupon code NEXT, and you're going to get the best GPS and swing analysis tool on the market at a great low price, and you're going to see your game in a whole new way. I also want to remind you about our friends over at Power Bar. Energy and focus on the golf course is essential, whether you're playing, on the tour, or you're playing in your club championship, or your weekend four-ball with your buddies. Par Bar, the golfer's nutritional bar, can help you with both. Eat some before you get to the first tee and the rest every 3 holes until it's finished, and you're going to play with more energy and focus to win. Par Bar was developed by a lifelong golfer and a food scientist to help all golfers play their best. Go online to parbargolf.com and order yours today.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at pgasuperstore.com. Now, back to you, Chris.
And now back in making his sixth appearance with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is Kenny Knox. Let me remind you about Kenny's background. He is from Columbus, Georgia, which is about a 2-hour drive southwest of me here in Atlanta, right down near the Alabama border. Played his college golf at Florida State University and was named an All-American his senior season. He won the 1977 Southeastern Amateur Championship. Kenny won 3 times out on the PGA Tour at the 1986 Honda Classic, the 87 Hardee's Golf Classic, and the 1990 Buick Southern Open. He's one of the best putters of all time. You heard me talking about that at the top of the show. 1989, he set 3 putting records at the Heritage Classic. He had 8 putts over 9 holes, 18 putts for 18 holes, and 93 putts over the 72-hole golf tournament. He is currently teaching golf in Tallahassee, Florida. He's got his own line of wedges and putters that you need to check out online at KennyKnoxGolf.com. They really look fantastic. And I'm honored he is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, good evening, Kenny. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year, Chris. Man, I tell you, the older I get, the better I used to be, it sounds like.
And you used to be outstanding, so if you're getting better, all the time, goodness knows you'll be in the Golf Hall of Fame here before long.
If I keep letting you introduce me, I'm just getting better and better.
Indeed. So, Kenny, as I was talking to my last guest, Mike Landry, most of the country, we're stuck here in a deep freeze. It seems that this is the perfect time for us to be practicing our putting strokes. Give us some indoor drills that we can do to stay sharp on the greens.
Well, I think the biggest drill that you can do is a long putting. I think so many people waste shots. Not everybody hits the ball close to the hole, right? So most people are faced with 25 to 40-foot putts. So the best way to cut shots off your score is to be able to putt those things. So if you can really work hard on your speed control, not worry about trying to make the putt so much, but trying to get your speed control down, I think that's going to start cutting some shots off your game. And if you just go out to the putting green instead of putting those 8 and 10 footers and trying to make those things all day long, why don't you get out about 40 feet and start hitting some putts that break 4 or 5 feet, and just try to just play it out there high and let the ball die down in the hole, and so you can learn how to tap the ball in for your second putt. And I think that's probably the best thing you could do at this point. The best way I have learned to practice long putting is really to be very, very still in your stroke. Make sure you rock your shoulders, let the putter get back, have a very smooth transition, change your direction, and don't look up until you finish your stroke. That's very, very important. And I found that that's the best way to putt long putts.
And Kenny, are you a proponent of doing things differently in your setup and in your stroke for whether you got a 3 or 4 foot knee knocker or you've got a 40-foot putt that breaks 5-6 feet? Is there any difference in how you set up to the ball? Is there any difference in the length of the swing? Is there any difference at all for how you handle short putts versus long putts?
Well, first of all, the pace of your stroke is the most crucial part of the actual stroke. And when I say pace, just think of it as like a metronome. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, something like that, to get your mind set on the takeaway and the transition and then the impact. But yes, the length of the stroke is going to vary obviously according to the length of the putt. But you always want to be very consistent and try to get the length of your through stroke about the same distance as your back stroke, depending on what length putt you have. Now, the one thing I do different than most anyone I've ever talked to, and I've been out on the tour talking to a lot of tour players, and when I tell them this little concept, a little idea that I have about never wanting to change your stroke, whether it's a right to left putt or a left to right putt, and they try to understand what I'm talking about. I said, what you have to do is move the ball around in your stance. And so what I'll do is I'll line 3 balls up. One will be off my front foot, big toe. The next ball will be right behind the first one, and it'll be on my front foot heel of my foot. And then the other one will be 1 ball behind that. And, of course, that's going to be more closer to my zipper area on my slack. So then when you set up to the front ball and you hit it, you'll notice that your stroke, first of all, the ball's up in your stance. Your hands are back a little bit of the ball and your shoulders are open. So naturally the path of the stroke is going to go straighter back. And then the release of the putter head is going to be a little bit earlier at impact. So therefore the ball is going to stay, it's going to go to the left. Now, if you put it in a neutral position, then all of a sudden your hands are where they're supposed to be on the putt over the ball, and then as you take the putter back using your shoulders, the path will be slightly inside, and when you get back to the ball at impact, it's going to be perfectly square and releasing towards your target, and the ball will go straighter. And then 1 ball back of that, obviously, the shoulders are going to be closed, the hands are going to be up, and the path of the stroke is going to be much more inside. So therefore, when the putter gets back to the golf ball, it's going to be slightly open, and it will miss to the right. So you say, well, why would you want to miss right, or why would you want to miss left? Why wouldn't you always want it in a neutral position? And I said, because you don't always have a straight putt. So when you have a 4-footer to win a golf tournament, you don't want to have to change your stroke. All you want to do is change your ball position. If it's a severe breaking left to right putt, move the ball up in your stance. Therefore, you always want to be coming in on the high side of the putt. If the ball is breaking right to left, move the ball back in your stance. And then the putter face will be slightly open at impact, and you'll always be on the high side of the hole. So keep that in for a little tip there and see if you can do it and see how it works for you.
And Kenny, let's back off the green a little bit. Like I said in your intro, you've got a wonderful set of wedges that you've designed. And when you look at your wedges compared to other wedges on the market, what in your mind, what sets them apart? What's different about the Kenny Knox wedges that you don't see maybe in some of the bigger brands, the TaylorMades, Callaways, etc.?
Well, every good wedge player wants to keep the golf ball on the club face as long as possible. So many times people don't understand why the ball rises up the face. It starts at the bottom and it climbs up the face, and you never can really get a consistent ball flight when you're hitting a short shot. And so what we did, we designed our wedges to have a higher center of gravity because of the A-shaped bounce on the bottom of the club. And so therefore it raises the center of gravity, so when you hit the golf ball, it's going to stay on the club face longer, and you can control the ball flight better that way. So therefore, you can control your distance and how the ball releases when it hits the green.
And Kenny, let's put those wedges to work here in some tips. Give us some tips for hitting a short shot, a longer chip shot. What do we do differently, and what club do you recommend we use if we're anywhere from 20, 30, 40, 50 yards off the green? What club should we be using in order to get our ball close to the hole?
Well, it all depends on the pin position, how much green you have to work with. If you have just very little green to work with, then you're kind of forced to use a higher lofty club, aren't you? So therefore, you would probably use a 60 degree if you have it in your bag, or a 58. And so if you have a lot of green to work with, then you want to increase your percentages by landing the ball on the green and letting it run out. I always try to tell people when I'm chipping the ball, I use a 1/3 to 2/3 rule. So I want to fly the ball 1/3 of distance to the hole. So if I had a 60-foot shot, Chris, I would want to fly that ball 20 feet, and I would want that ball to run 40 feet. So I would pick my club accordingly. I don't fall in love with any one club in my golf bag. It just depends on the shot that I'm faced with. So if I got a back pin placement and I can fly the ball 20 feet and let it run 40 feet, well, if it's uphill, I'm probably going to use like a 9-iron, depending on the speed of the greens, or a pitching wedge or something like that. But if it's downhill, then obviously you're going to probably have to use more of a gap wedge or even a 56-degree sand wedge on that shot. So, and again, it depends on the speed of the greens. Many times I'll use a 7-iron off the green and land the ball 1/3 of the way to the hole and let it run 2/3 of the way. So it's really interesting concept. It's very simple to understand, but you really need to practice that shot and determine the speed of your greens that you're playing at your local club, or if you're playing a tournament somewhere else, you need to go ahead and get a good idea of what speed those greens are. How firm the greens are is another factor that plays into it. This is why golf is not an easy game. You have so many different variables that you have to factor into each individual shot. But that's also what makes it such a great game, because you're able to use your imagination when you're hitting these short shots. If I'm 40 yards off the green and the pin's in the middle of the green, I'm 90% of the time I'm going to use a 56-degree wedge, fly the ball in there and stop it. But if I can run the ball, I'm going to run it more often than not if I can run the ball to the hole, because I want that ball on the ground pretty much as soon as possible to get that ball rolling like a putt, so you'll be more consistent with your distance control.
And Kenny, you've got a couple of great videos for bunker shots, short bunker shots, long bunker shots. Take us through those. First, talk about setting up and hitting a short bunker shot. What should we be doing? How should we be setting up? And how do we execute that shot?
Well, again, you have to factor in the type of sand you're in. If you're on an uphill lie or flat lie or whatever, what the depth of the sand is. Is it soft sand? Is it tight lie? And all these things play a big, huge factor into the sand shot. It's very important to understand this. you have typically a gap wedge is going to have less bounce on the club. So let's say a 52 degrees wedge is going to only have about 8 degrees bounce on the club. And then the 56 degree typically has the most bounce. So my wedges have 12 degrees bounce on a 56 degree wedge. And then, of course, a 60 degree wedge is going to have not much bounce on it, about, again, 8 degrees. So if the sand is very firm, you don't want much bounce because what's going to happen, the club is going to bounce, just like it says. And so you want to take the bounce out of the club. And so always in the bunker shot, you always want to be adding loft at impact. So you're using the bounce of the club and not the leading edge. So many amateurs get in a bunker and they square their stance, and then they try to get the ball out using a square club face at impact. That's just going to make you dig further down underneath the ball, and the ball's not going to come out of the sand. You want to splash the ball out of the sand, and you do that by opening up the club face and adding bounce at impact. So you're actually adding loft, which increases the bounce at impact, so you're able to control your distance better as a result. You always want to hit a higher, softer shot if you can, but if you're hitting off a hard pan, it's hard to do that. So then in that situation, you use less bounce with less loft and play for the roll. And so there's so many different ways to do it. I think I'm going to start a whole new YouTube series, Chris, with I've just built an indoor teaching facility at my farm here in Monticello, and I'm going to start YouTubing, I think, and start putting a lot more videos out there on YouTube so that people can understand what I'm talking about when we start talking bounce and the different club selections and different things of that nature.
And Kenny, just to expand on the idea of hard pan, right? So if we're out playing and it's recently rained, that sort of thing, and now we've got hard pan sand, are you saying instead of taking your sand wedge and opening it up and that sort of thing, we should be using less bounce? So maybe take a gap wedge or something of that nature, and are we still opening the face of the club to get underneath it? How do we play that hard pan sand shot?
Yeah, you want to always weaken your grip, first of all, before you set up to it. So you want to have a very weak grip, and you absolutely want to take less bounce. And so you would take a 52-degree wedge. That way you're not bouncing your club into the golf ball so much. But you're going to have to play for some run out on that shot. So you'll get the ball on the green quicker and let the ball run to the hole if the shot allows you to do that. If the pin is tucked pretty tight to where you're at, then obviously you'll have to go to the 60 degree because remember the 60 degree has less bounce also. So that's the case where I would use a 60 degree. And here's what you do. Here's the key on that shot. You don't speed up your entry into the ball. You just maintain a nice pace back and down, much like you'd hit a putt. You don't want to increase your speed. What you want to do is come into it nice and slow and let the club do all the work for you. You do want to finish the swing, though. You don't want to make a full follow-through, but you do want to continue the arms moving so the club can get through the shot and not stop and dig into the sand. So that would be the best way I could teach you how to hit that type of shot off a hard pan that may have a little, dampness to it.
And Kenny, as many of us do this time of year, when the calendar turns to a new year, we're already looking ahead to Augusta and the Masters. And, if one of the players came to you and said, Kenny, how can I be successful putting the greens at Augusta National, what would you tell them?
Well, no one's ever been totally successful putting those greens. There are always going to be some hiccups. I think Ben Crenshaw probably had the greens figured out better than anybody, Ben and Jack, of course, and they were both lag putters. I think learning how to lag the ball and keep it close to the hole. So I would putt my long putts again. We would go back to the putting green and pick out some long putts and learn how to try to get the ball close to the hole. At Augusta, it's funny you bring up Augusta because I just had Fred Ridley, the new chairman of Augusta National, came to my indoor facility, and I fit him for a putter. So it was it was a pleasure to have Fred here. He's a wonderful gentleman, and he's going to do a great job at Augusta as their chairman. But you really want to work on those long putts, and then you would also, like Chichi Rodriguez once told me at the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, he says, you need to work on your 6-footers part because these greens are so fast that you're going to have a lot of comeback putts, and you're usually in the 6-foot range. So you really want to work also like 6, 5, 6, 7-foot putts because you're going to be faced with that for your second putt so often.
Kenny, just a couple more before we let you go, and staying on Augusta National. I believe your first Masters was one of the all-time great ones back in '86, and I know you and Mr. Nicklaus are great friends. What do you remember about being a part of what was, potentially the greatest Masters of all time?
Well, probably the best thing I remember about that tournament was the fact that I was able to play 2 practice rounds with Jack. And after the Wednesday round, we went to the par 3 course to play the par 3 golf course. And they interviewed each player that was going to tee it up on the par 3. And they asked each one of us who we thought was going to actually win the golf tournament. And Jack just happened to be my partner that day. And I said, well, my partner's going to win the tournament. He's playing great. And, of course, Jack was 46 years old at the time, so nobody gave him much of a chance to win the golf tournament, actually. But they said, well, who's your partner? I said, well, Jack Nicklaus. So it was pretty funny because I was the only person that predicted Jack would win the golf tournament, and it was on video.
That's outstanding. And, Kenny, we've talked about your wedges. I want to talk about your putters real quick. You've got your Transformer putter series, which looks amazing. You've got several varieties of putters available. If I'm a person that's looking for better performance from my putter, talk about your lines of putters and what putter shaft position means and how I can do a better job of making more putts looking at the Kenny Knox putters.
Well, this is a really a fun time of year for me because November, December are really not a great time as far as really getting out there and helping people with their golf game that much and selling a bunch of product. It usually starts up in January, and I'll be hitting the road here next week, going down to South Florida, and be going to these really nice clubs down there and selling my putters. And my whole concept on putters, you need to be fit for a putter, one that fits your eye. And what I mean by that is all the different hosel configurations and the different sizes, the blade between the blades and the mallets, and the different positions that the hosels go into the heads, that can really change with each individual as the way they line the ball up. And so I'm all about learning how to line up first. I figure there's only 3 things in putting, and that is alignment, and then mechanics, and then trust. And so what I try to do first of all is teach people to line the ball up correctly, using the putter that helps them the best with the way they see the putter and the way they see the line of the putts. And so, for instance, if you think that you always have had a heel-shafted, toe-down blade putter, and you think that's the putter for you because that's what you've always used, you may be exactly right or you may be 100% wrong. You may actually fit better for a center-shafted mallet, for instance, according to your stroke, according to the way that you line up. A face-balanced putter may be just a putter for you or vice versa. You may need a toe-down putter that allows more play in the toe. And so you really need to be fit for that putter for length, for lie, and also for the putter that actually helps you line up the best. And that's what I do in my fitting system is I help people line up according to the way they see the line. And I use a laser system to do that. And it determines about 75% of the people you can improve the way they line up according to which putter they should be using. About 20% of the people you just flat out can't help because they're all over the board no matter what putter you put in their hands. And about 5% of the people, which I call my 5% club, they line everything up perfectly. And Jack Nicklaus happens to be in that 5% club. I have a 15 handicapper in Valdosta, Georgia, that has bought 3 putters from me that happens to be in a 5% club. So it doesn't matter whether you're a great player or a great putter or, an average player. Fred Ridley also was lining up everything, perfectly the other day when I fit him in my studio. So but it's very important to be fit for length and lie. And so then the second thing is your mechanics, and your mechanics are so very important. And if you do go to my website, you can see what I'm talking about, alignment and mechanics. And just read under the instruction part in putting, and you'll see the things I talk about with how important it is to line up your shoulders, your hips, your feet parallel of your intended target, and the putter face square to your intended target. And then just using the unit, your shoulders, arms, hands, putter head as one unit, and just move your shoulders back and through, and make sure your ball position's in the proper position as well, so that you can get the ball started rolling correctly. And if y'all want to know more about putting and what works the best, just go to my website. And I think there's enough there to teach you. And be looking for me more on YouTube. I think I'm going to be out there a little bit more now that I have my studio constructed.
Well, Kenny, it's KennyKnoxGolf.com is the website. Kenny, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with where you're going to be if they want to come out, get fit, see you, that sort of thing, and then how can they stay up to date with what you're doing on social media?
Well, pretty much everything is there on my website that you need to know. Just remember the Kenny Knox Golf, because if you just type in Kenny Knox, you may get the rapper, you may get the tire salesman, you may get the garbage collector. I just don't know. But those guys are all probably related to me anyway. But you need to go to Kenny Knox Golf to get the guy that knows a little bit about golf. And so I've got the ball up and down many times out of the garbage, so maybe I'm better off at that occupation anyway.
Well, Kenny, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come back on the show. It's always a privilege to get to spend some time with you. Thank you for being here, and I hope you'll come back and do it again real soon.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Chris. Thanks for asking, and thanks for having me, and have a great show.
All right. Thank you, Kenny. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you. You too.
Again, that's Kenny Knox, and it's KennyKnox.com. Kenny Knox Golf, I should say. KennyKnoxGolf.com, and Knox is K-N-O-X, so KennyKnoxGolf.com. A lot of great videos already on there. Very excited if Kenny's going to be adding some more things. So a lot of great instructions, both for your short game and for putting, and Kenny's just a great guy, so hopefully we get the opportunity to catch up with him again real soon. All right, folks, before we close up shop, like we like to do every week here on the show, I want to remind you about our great friend and PGA Tour Pro, Jim Estes, and the great folks over at the Salute Military Golf Association. Let's hear a word from Jim about the great things that they're doing.
The Salute Military Golf Association was created to provide rehabilitative golf experiences to the brave men and women who have been wounded while serving our country. Hi, I'm Jim Estes, PGA Golf Pro and co-founder of the Salute Military Golf Association. With my adaptive golf program, we've successfully helped thousands of soldiers in their recovery, both mentally and physically. The SMGA has been providing family-inclusive golf experiences across the country since 2007. To date, the SMGA has equipped more than 1,000 warriors with properly fitted golf clubs and has extended its clinic series to more than 8 chapter and affiliate locations across the U.S. If you are a wounded veteran interested in participating, or if you'd like to learn more about the Salute Military Golf Association and find a chapter closest to you, visit our website at smga.org. We've seen firsthand how impactful golf can be in aiding one's recovery. The Salute Military Golf Association, empowering wounded veterans one fairway at a time. Visit smga.org. That's smga.org.
Yeah, folks, they're doing amazing things at the Salute Military Golf Association. To find out more information and to see how you can get involved, go online to smga.org. All right, folks, time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks again to Mike Landry and Kenny Knox for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed this show as well. Please give me your thoughts. Check us out online on our Facebook page, Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro. Give us your feedback right there. Plus, if you've got a question for one of our future guests, or one of our previous guests for that matter, you can go online to our site, nextonthetee.net. You can see who some of our future guests are going to be. Plus, you can see a rundown of some of our more recent episodes. Shoot me a question over there on our Facebook page. Be glad to get that question answered for you. Please also check out our sister show on the football side, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me and my co-host Bob Lazari and our announcer Joe LaGenusa. That show airs live every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can stream it live on Blog Talk Radio, but that show, like this one, is also available as a free podcast over on iHeartRadio and Podbean as well. On Thursday Night Tailgate, we're joined every week by 5 NFL legends that come on and share their stories from their playing days, plus insights into what's going on around the NFL now. Plus, we also highlight 2 players doing great things in their communities in our Spotlight on the Positive segment. Please check that out. You can find that show online at ThursdayNightTailgate.com. And again, this show is available on our website, nextonthet.net. You can stream or download any of our archive episodes from free from those sites. Plus, again, like I say, on iHeartRadio and Podbean as a podcast as well. Folks, thanks for choosing to listen to this show tonight. We really appreciate it. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA pros and top instructors and media members go to tell their stories. Join us the same time every Tuesday to hear more stories about the game we love from people who love sharing those stories with you. It's all about the great game of golf. It's all about the great game.